There was once this man who lived in northern Canada, almost around the Klondike region. And it was towards the start of World War II, and he wanted to work for his country, but he didn't want to risk his life doing it. So he took up a post on the Alaskan border as border guard or border patrol. And he didn't mind it. He spent his days lonely. He had some hobbies like knitting and reading. But when someone came, he was happy to talk to them about the weather and his family, their family, what they're up to. And one time a visitor came riding his bike along. He saw him in the distance as a dot and was ready and waiting for him. And when he got close enough, he realized it was a boy. Well, not a boy, a young man, about 18, 17. And he was riding his bike, and he had two big bags on the side. And when he got there, he asked, "Morning, weather's nice," the usual, "What's in the bags?" "Sand." "Sand? Why do you have sand?" You can check if you want." And so he stuck his hands in the bag, pulled some out, sure enough, it's sand. Felt around, see if there was anything hidden in there, nothing. He said, "Well, I guess I have nothing to keep you for. Have a good day." And he rode off. Well, the same thing, and then 2 weeks later, same thing. Came again. Same drill. What's in the bags? Sand. Stuck his hands, took some out, sure enough, it's all sand. And this happened on and on, with about 2 weeks to a month in between. And every time he showed up, same drill, he'd go to sand. What do you have in the bags? And one time, the man actually took the bags and emptied it on the floor, and both of them, but there was nothing, it was just sand. So we had to fill them up, back up, and put them on the bag. "Have a good day." "Thank you, sir." And eventually and this happened for about a year, almost two. And it was part of like a weekly occurrence, and he kind of looked forward to meeting the young man each time and talking to him. And eventually, towards the end of World War II, because it just stopped. He just stopped coming, and he kept up working as a border guard.
Okay. It was one dark night, and two young teenagers were going on an asphalt road. They were talking about how are they doing at school, how are they doing at home. But later on, an argument broke off. It just broke off. They just started talking, calling themselves each other names. Then on the radio, an announcement came. A murderer escaped from prison, very dangerous and armed. So then the girl insisted on the boy to come back because she was scared now. She was too scared. She kept begging and begging until the boy finally agreed. But then he said, "First I have to go and take a leak." So then he went out, but when he opened the door, he told her, "Okay, keep all the doors closed and shut, only when I come, okay?" "Okay." And then he left. And then she waited about 2 minutes already, then 3, then 4, until it eventually became like 10 minutes. Until then, she heard a scrapping sound somewhere. She didn't know where. And then she knew something was happening, and she was just scared. She got terrified. So then she decided to make a run for it. She opened the door, she went out and started running down the asphalt road, trying to get back to civilization. And then when she turned back, she saw this tree above the car where they parked. There was a body hanging, and the feet was scraping the roof. That's the sound she heard when she was in the car. She approached the hanging body, terrified, almost pale, completely white as a ghost. And then she realized it was her boyfriend, the one she broke an argument with. Then she got so terrified she went for it again. She ran and ran and ran, until then she saw a shadow in front of her. running towards her, and then tackled her. She fell down, and then the shadow started hitting her, kicking her, and beating her up. And then she almost couldn't do anything. She was like dying. And then until the shadow took up out a hook, and started ripping her skin, her body, until she couldn't take it anymore and she died, while the shadow dragged her into the trees.
Once upon a time, in a farm, lived a farmer and a horse. The horse was one of the strongest horses in the world. Its name was Goliath. He would do the work for the farmer every single day for years and years and collect the corn and do lots of stuff. But one day, the farmer came along and said, "Goliath, I think you're too old for this job, and I will replace you with a new tractor." Goliath was really sad and went into the barn. Clearly, he was not old enough because he was still very strong. Later, Meow the kitty came along and asked, "Can you tell me a story about how it was when you were still young? How would you do the work and all those things?" Goliath said, "Sure," but when he ended the story, he was really sad how he got replaced by this piece of metal. Years later, the farmer said, "Goliath, I think I need your help. The tractor broke and I don't know what to do, but I think you're too old to collect the wheat now." Goliath insisted on going back to the barn and pushed the tractor out and collected the wheat as fast as never before. They finished in 1 hour and usually would take a lot more. The moral of the story: to never replace the original when it still works.
This was in the old times where the Spanish people were collecting gold in Latin America. Once there was a girl named Luba, but people would call her Flor de Aire, and she was a rebel girl, as normal teenage girls are. So she fell in love with one of the Spanish people that were taking her gold, and they were at war. And she was already being forced to marry a man named Yaravi, an Indian from her tribe that was very strong. Once she was hanging out with the Spanish person, and she was talking to him when Yaravi saw him, and the guy fled. Luba didn't know what to do, but Yaravi said, "You're not in love with me?" And then she said, "No, I want to be with the Spanish guy." And then Yaravi was really sad, and the whole town and all the people were disappointed in Luba for not marrying Yaravi. Yaravi ended up jumping off a cliff and killing himself because he lost his wife. Luba was shunned by everybody in the town, and everybody in the town was ashamed of Luba because she didn't marry Yaravi and she wanted the Spanish person. So Luba ran away into the jungle, far from the town, and then she fell asleep and died. And the jungle wrapped itself around her, creating a mountain. Line Rita.
Once upon a time in Mexico, there was this girl who her father wanted her to get married to a rich man, but she didn't love him. So once she was in a church and she met this guy who she really fell in love with him, and they started meeting, and his father didn't know of it because she knew he was not going to like it, and the rumors started to go on, and his father knew about it, and then he got grounded her because and then she couldn't go out of her room, and then in her room there was a balcony in which she could barely see another window of another building, and the poor man started to work really, really hard to buy that, and then they could meet each other at night. He at the end he could buy it, and they started meeting through the windows. But once her father knew about it, and he went into the room with a knife, and he killed his daughter, and then he ended up killing